Hi everyone and welcome to the Expedition 33. If you are playing this game and watched anything about it on YouTube, you probably have seen a lot of insane builds, doing millions and millions of damage per hit. But I don't like to blindly copy other people's builds and prefer to understand how and why they work. So I tried to look at how the damage works in the game, and here is what I found. The main metric that governs everything to do with your damage is your attack power combat stat. All damage calculations, whether it's skills, base attacks or counter attacks, are derived from it using a set of coefficients and multipliers. For this video, I quickly set my L to exactly 1000 attack power without any additional modifiers, so it's easy to see how things work. So, your base attack by default is exactly equal to your attack power. So if you have 1000 points in the stat, that's the damage you'll do to the enemy on your base attack, without any resistances or weaknesses. For your free aim shots, the damage is 15% of your attack power on normal enemies and 30% of it against flying enemies. So at 1000 attack power, you'll do 150 damage per shot for normal enemies and 300 damage to the flyers. Interestingly, the weak point damage is the only exception I've seen that is not related to your stats and seem to be completely fixed per enemy type and level. So, in the early game, shooting the weak spots can generate damage well beyond what your build should be capable of, while in the late game it will actually do far less damage than you would by simply shooting the enemy elsewhere. The counter attack has a massive damage multiplier to it of 5.95. In other words, attack power of 1000 will do 5950 damage on a successful counter. So if you were hesitating whether parrying is worth the risk versus dodging and were not convinced by extra action point benefits, know that extra damage potential from it is absolutely massive. Each of the skills you use has its own multiplier. Listing every skill's multiplier goes well beyond the scope of this video, but they are loosely grouped into 5 categories. There's low damage, means multiplier of 1 or below. Medium usually ranges from 1 to about 3. High goes from about 2.5 to 6. Very high goes from 5 to 10 or a bit more. And extreme is usually over 10. But when I say loosely, I actually mean it. There's a ton of exceptions and examples where low damage skill has a multiplier of 4 and a high damage skill has a multiplier of 1. So don't just take those high, medium, lows at face value. Try them out and pay attention to the results. But the skill details, their boosts and effectiveness is a topic for a whole separate conversation. Successfully completing quick time event sequence during the attack can also affect your damage. In most cases, simply hitting it gets you 10% damage bonus, while perfecting it gets you 20. But there's also too many exceptions to actually count it as a rule. For instance, Stand Hole has 20% bonus for normal completion and whopping 40% for perfect. And some skills don't give you any damage increase at all, instead providing other benefits like increasing the number of hits, amount of action points granted or number of characters affected by a buff. But in general, it's very beneficial to hit that perfect window. Now over to Pictus and Luminous, since that's where the main component of the insane damage lies. The crucial thing to understand about the damage buffs in Expedition 33 is that all bonuses are multiplicative rather than additive. What that means is each bonus is applied to the damage as a whole rather than adds a portion of the base stat. So, taking our 1000 attack power example, I'll first add 50% bonus to it. As expected, our base attack now produces 1500 damage. If now I stack another 50% bonus on it, the damage becomes 2250 rather than just 2000. This happens because the math is not actually add 50% of 1000 twice, but rather multiply by 1.5 twice. In a similar way, 3 counterattack damage buffs for 25%, 50% and 75% respectively don't actually add up to 150%, but 228% damage increase instead. This aspect of how damage works in the Expedition 33 is exactly what allows crazy runaway builds with millions and millions of damage to exist. And when you are assessing the benefit of a specific buff, new weapon or Illumina, don't just add up percentages together, as the more multipliers you already have, the more difference each subsequent one has. To demonstrate how wild the difference is, here is a quick comparison. First, we have a max level Mael with a max level Medallum in Virtuous stance performing a Stendhal with no damage improving luminous enabled at all. With a perfect execution and no crit hit, the damage totaled at 800,000, which is okay, I guess. Now, here is exactly same Mael with all the same level and attributes, but with about 200 Lumina points worth of damage buffs thrown into the mix, performing exactly same skill, doing over 50 million damage. And this is not even close to a maximum damage or an optimal build, it's just a demonstration of the difference between paying attention to damage buffs and ignoring them. This also creates endless possibilities for various synergies and countless builds, whether you prefer to play a solo character or a full team, have a full health build or a low health, exploit elemental weaknesses, or build up multipliers by stacking marks, debuffs and specific character skill mechanics to achieve the most. There's truly not one single right path. The game allows you to do crazy stuff in a multitude of different ways. Apart from the explicit bonuses that you clearly can see on your screen, there's at least a few hidden ones too. For instance, Mael's Medallon weapon, which is already quite OP, has a hidden 21% extra damage bonus. It doesn't show itself anywhere in your stats, but nonetheless is present each time you do any kind of damage. Another one is the First Strike Lumina effect. Apart from making your character start the battle first, it also provides 10% damage bonus, which is not listed in the description, and it lasts for the duration of the whole battle. As usual, with such hidden bonuses, there is no way to tell whether they are intended or a result of a bug that will get fixed at some point, but it's the shame not to use them while they last. Now, the direct relation of your damage output to attack power stat might make you think that pouring all your points into the might attribute is the way to go, but that's not actually correct due to the way weapon and character affinities work. You have probably seen that each of the weapons you find has a sword icon and a letter against some attributes. That shows the affinity of the weapon and means that increasing that attribute will also increase your attack power and usually another attribute as well. The higher the affinity, the more benefit you get from increasing that stat. The highest affinity is marked with the letter S and is only available at a maximum weapon level. Then it goes as A, B, C, D and a sword icon with no letter, with A being higher and no letter being the lowest one. For example, here is my Mael at max level with her Medallum. It has primary affinity to defense, then agility, and minor affinity to might. If I put 99 points into the might, I get 5800 attack power. But if instead I max out defense, my attack power goes to 7100, while also increasing defense itself and my critical rates as well. In general, starting from affinity level B, increasing that stat results in higher attack power gain than directly increasing might. Around the mid to late game, you really only need to put points into attributes with affinity from higher to lower, depending on the weapon you use. And upgrading your weapon levels provides huge benefit to the damage output, not only from its own power, but through increased affinity levels to core stats. My final note is directly related to weapons as well. You definitely should build your attributes around the weapon you chose, but that doesn't mean that you are locked into your weapon choice forever. Recode tints allow you to respec attributes at any flag or camp, and they are very easy to farm. So do not hesitate to fully respec your character's abilities if you found a better weapon, or to experiment with the stats as you like. I hope you found something useful in this video. Thank you for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.